Hello, my name is Ray, and the channel's name is Ray Tales. And this is Waterdeep Dragon Heist Campaign Diary number 8. The session opens on the 6th day of Marpanoth. Shenanigan Inc. comes home from a long night in the fields hunting scarecrows. A long rest is had for everyone except for Anvil. Anvil cannot sleep due to construction taking place in the tavern below his room, so he ends up with one level of exhaustion. Breakfast is had at the Frozen Nugget, and then they discuss what jobs they want to do. The first one is talking about the scarecrows. Varen and Karn decide they're going to go talk to the farmers today. They end up finding out that the attacks happen more frequently in farms that haven't had their crops fully harvested. Karn and Varen decide to return to the M&M and await the others. They discuss elves getting killed in the dock ward. So Sadek, Zindran, and Anvil decide to go to the dock ward to find out information from the people there about the attacks. They end up finding out from sailors and homeless people that the attacks are within a radius surrounding the Mule Skull Tavern on Ship Street. Sadek ends up stealing Redgar's dog tags. After causing a commotion, Redgar was offended that this woman had sat on his lap. Another human was also watching Sadek, but ended up leaving after Sadek's commotion. Zindran sends a paper bird to Mert to tell him the response of the talking mare from her previous mission. Mert responded with a paper bird informing him that 50 dragons will be delivered to him on the 7th of Marpanoth at the M&M Tavern. The gold was never delivered during the session. Anvil, Zindran, and Sadek return to the M&M and discover that the doors are locked. Zindran knocks while Sadek successfully picks the lock to the residential area. Varen ends up handing keys out to everyone, one for the tavern and one for the residents. Since SI was all back together, they decide to share the information from both cases, and they decide that the elves and half-elves being murdered in the dock ward were more important than scarecrows. So Varen decides to be the bait and uses her magic armor to change her armor to appear as a sailor. She leaves her bow at home and ends up walking ahead of the others to try to give the impression that she's alone. Varen says she is sailing on the Windy Whistle when anyone asks her what ship she sailed to Waterdeep on. The rest of the party took up positions outside the Mule Skull Tavern to cover her. Varen ends up meeting a man. The man tells her that she can call him Al, and Varen responds that Al can call her Betty. This earned her inspiration from myself because I found it hilarious. Varen ends up getting a date with Al on a ship called the Eyecatcher on the 7th of Marpanoth at 6 p.m. Varen leaves the Mule Skull Tavern and then heads to the docks as others follow her at a distance to maintain the illusion that she is alone. SI returns to the M&M for the rest of the night. And on the 7th day of Marpanoth, the party wakes up, heads downstairs to raid the pantry. SI discusses that it will be the first day they will conduct interviews for M&M staff. Sadek opts out of interviews, then heads out to run some errands. She ends up going to Zoblob's, where she purchases 5 pounds of purple glitter dust. I'm not exactly sure why, but it should be funny. And then she heads to the Midnight Reverie, where she sells a failed flashlight experiment that she stole from Binger for 750 gold pieces. The player Varen notes that she had visions of Sadek covering a naked Anvil in purple glitter, wrapping him in a bow and leaving him on Jackie's doorstep, which is a running joke right now because Anvil is the paladin of the group, and every time he goes to the Midnight Reverie, the 3 sisters there try to get him in bed. Karn, Varen, Zendrin, and Anvil move a table and 5 chairs from the bar to the street so they can conduct interviews out of Sam's way and away from the noise. Their first interviewee was Annabelle, a 25-year-old human woman who ends up making them red beer drink, and she really wants the job, and they discover that she has a purple heart tattoo on her right breast, at least as much as they can tell it's a purple heart tattoo because most of it was covered up by her clothes. 4 halflings also show up for an interview, and they are put through serving and cooking tests. Yagra ends up showing up, and they immediately hire her as the bouncer, telling her that the tavern opens up on the 17th of Marpanoth. Varen and Karn ends up stopping by the Innkeepers Guild, basically looking for any kind of information or cookbooks for the various races. They want to be prepared for their guests and, be inclusive. The party ends up resting for their night's activities. And then Varen goes on her dinner date with Al. She ends up commanding her armor to look like nice sailor garb, and then on her way she stops by the Midnight Reverie so she can purchase some antitoxin because she does not trust Al. Anvil enters with Varen, and Jackie tries to flirt with him, trying to get Anvil into bed with her, or at least get his man juices away from him. When both Varen and Anvil notice that there is a silver gizmo for sale that looks a lot like Binger's failed flashlight, Jackie says she'll sell it for 3,500 dragons, or she will sell it for 1,750 if Anvil gives her some of his man juices. Varen heads to the docks, and the rest of SI take a seat at the Tipsy Sailor, which is a tavern located on the bay near the docks. A rowboat that's manned by 2 humans that do not touch or assist Varen in any way show up to escort Varen out to the Eyecatcher. Varen notices that it is one of 3 ships anchored near each other in the bay. One is called the Heartbreaker, the second is called the Hellraiser, and Eyecatcher seems to be the third. Sailors on board ask if Varen there is to see Zardoz. She says if he is the one that calls himself Al, then yes, I am there to see Zardoz. All the sailors agree she's there to see Zardoz and not some strange named guy named Al. One escorts Varen down below decks to the captain's quarters. Varen takes the antitoxin as she's escorted down to see Zardoz. Al introduces himself with his true name, Zardoz Zord, commander of the Sea Maidens Fair, an entertainment group. Zardoz lets Varen know he knows she is Varen and part owner of the Mead and Magic in the North Ward, famous for being in a party that rescued a couple of nobles. Varen confirms that she is in the dock ward to have fun people watching. Then she eventually admits that she was looking for info on elf and half-elf murders in the dock ward, because there might be a reward if SI solves it. Zardoz offers to trade information for information. He's looking for information on the Stone of Galore, and he will have his people keep their ears to the ground for information for Varen. Varen says that she knows that Stone of Galore was once held by the Xanathar gang, and when it was stolen then it was stolen by the Vizentarum. She doesn't know what it does or how to use it. She does not know where to find it or who has it. Zardoz agrees that that's good information and offers her this. The murder suspect will strike tomorrow on the 8th of Marpanoth between 10 and 11 p.m. near the Mule Skull Tavern. Varen ends up kissing Zardoz on the cheek as she leaves and notices that he has a smooth cheek despite appearing to have a heavy 5 o'clock shadow. And that is the end of the session. Session 9 will begin on the 8th day of Marpanoth tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time.